since we played the actual intro.
I bet the whole thing through.
Like that, the Minot Talk intro. Because I always forget to hit that. And the music continues to play. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It fades out. We come into the picture. It's a beautiful thing.
So
we made it. We're here.
We made it. We're here. Some maybe thought it wouldn't happen.
Right.
But
not the case.
The big news, probably biggest news coming out, is we weren't live Thursday.
We weren't. No, we took the day off.
Why, dude? Why did we take the day off? I think that's like the first time that we've taken a week or a day off since we've done this like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Burn to go.
Yeah, 100%.
Something the 4th was Friday. We were lazy.
This is all it was. Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't. Yeah. You were out of town. I wasn't feeling like doing something the day before the 4th. So
we're like, we just want to do it.
Here we are.
Here we are. We're back at it today. And of course, coming off a big weekend of news and city council meeting. And
ton of stuff happened last week that we missed out on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then last night, 4.5 hours of city council meeting. Like,
is that long enough?
You know, it was. It wasn't short. I'll say that for sure.
So, what's over the weekend from the weekend news? What's probably the biggest headline you got? What was the one that's most surprising?
No, most surprising, I guess, the floods in Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is probably the federal budget that got passed. That was.
Did you think that would happen?
I was having doubts at a point, and it went through. So it's gonna get implemented.
I was having doubts too. I think probably I'm kind of surprised with the whole court case that came to a close. Diddy not getting as many charges. I thought maybe he'd get one of the other ones.
No, not of course, the 3 serious charges he got was acquitted of, but the 2, more comparatively minor ones he gets hammered on, or, guilty charge of. So
see what happens there.
It's just another case of disappointing.
It's another case of if you got money, you got a chance.
All right, you said it. Okay. You're not wrong, dude.
But and it's not. I'm not saying that he paid off somebody. I'm just saying that you can get really good at a defense team.
Yeah, the more money you can throw at it, the more good attorneys you can get to defend your case, the better chance you have of them finding some legal minutia to save your case.
It's not me saying that. That's just like even some of the correspondence coming out of it said some of this just comes down to he can get the best there.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's you've seen it over the decades where if you can get that top tier legal team together, you can defend yourself. And Diddy had them do it for him. I mean, you have 30 some witnesses testifying against him from all over the spectrum and saying that he did X, Y, and Z. And maybe you can say the racketeering charges were you could argue that it wasn't as easy to prove, but I feel like the other 2 ones that got dismissed were a little bit more egregious, in my opinion. But again, I'm not on the jury. I'm sure
you want to be though. Well, maybe not on that jury, but you want to be on a jury. I'm sure of a big case.
Oh, that would be I wouldn't say no. Jury duty's an interesting time. I think everybody should do it,
dude. I think if you get asked to do it, you should probably do it.
Of course, you don't have a choice,
but
at least show up.
I would love to be on a jury. But there may not be much of a chance because of certain groups. All right. Other news. Are you going to be joining a new party?
There is potentially or likely a new party forming. Yeah, after the big beautiful bill passed, former Trump ally Elon Musk decided to announce that he is going to form the America Party.
Which is a fantastic name. When you're making retaliation measures, it's a fantastic name.
Especially when, according to Musk, he's going against the America First policies Trump is that he promoted in the campaign, and so now he's calling his campaign
his
party the America Party, and I think it's a fun twist on words. I don't know if it'll be successful or if it'll go anywhere. I mean, that's having third party success in the U.S. is something that's hard to see happen, but if there's someone that could do it, Musk has the money to make it happen.
It's still early, but do you kind of feel like this is the greatest chance of a third party succeeding in a long time?
In my lifetime, yes. I would have to say the next closest one would have been Ross Perot in 92.
Yeah. Right. It'll be really interesting to see who their first candidate is, if they get that far.
Yeah. If they even get to 2028 to run someone for the presidency.
Well,
but I'm interested in seeing if anyone like tries to split off from their current party and run with them next year. Yeah.
Especially some of the people that Trump has come out against.
Yeah.
And is like, hey, we're going to run someone against you. Well, does America, depending on who the candidate is, does America first kind of go and be like, okay, well, we'll support the other one?
Yeah. And Thomas Massey is a big name that might pop up in that speculation. Not saying he will. I mean, think about the amount that he would be leaving behind if he left the Republican Party, especially in a place like Kentucky.
Right.
Just the infrastructure and resources that he would have there that wouldn't be available to him anymore. But regardless from that, I mean, he would be the first one that pops to mind.
Right.
Possibly like Susan Collins of Maine could be too, but
I think she's more mod. Is she
she's
budget hawk?
No, she's very moderate.
Because it seems like she
did vote against the big beautiful bill. So.
Okay, it seems like if you're gonna be part of American First, you got to be a budget hawk.
Yeah, at this point, I think
like a true budget hawk, and I think Massey pretty much truly is.
Yeah,
like he really doesn't care what the money is going towards. If the budget is not balanced, then it's a problem.
Yeah, he's against it.
That's one of the frustrating things with the conversations between the Republicans and the Democrats with it is I don't know that it's a great bill. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Democrats slam it, but the Democrats aren't passing balanced budgets either. So we're all mad about us going into more debt, but both sides have been doing this for the last
30 years almost.
Yeah, right.
25 at least.
So don't go take a high road that if you guys had if the Democrats had their guy in office, that there would be this better budget in place that would be less hard on our debt.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Exactly. No, I agree with that. Like the national debt is about to reach America's GDP. Like we're getting to a point where it's, I mean, maybe there is a point of no. I don't know if
eventually there is I mean, there's got to be, right?
There has to be, but I mean, the further we go, the less is it just all fake paper magic money that you can just print off as much of you want and do whatever you want with because we're America? Or is there going to actually be a hard stop at some point?
Not getting into the details of the bill, the only thing that makes me curious about Trump's plan is the fact that he understands that typically the best way to defeat a shortfall in a budget is to increase revenues.
Yeah.
It's way harder to decrease your outgoings. Mm-hmm. So with his tariffs and stuff like that, which are a lot of times misused and all that, but the goal is that somehow we start getting more money coming in, so that way we can offset the terrible
debt at this
debt
point.
And budgets.
I mean, the amount we're paying every year just to our debt payment, it's I mean something we could take that and think what we could put it towards instead. ICE could be funded through that at this point effectively instead of the $113 billion that they're getting now from this new budget. I mean, like you can just look at the sheer options that could be available with
right.
it. I don't know. It's disappointing, but also, hey, I'll take a tax cut though. I ain't gonna say no to that.
It's a big, beautiful bill, bro.
It's big and it's a bill. And it got passed.
And now the city gets to work on their big, beautiful budget.
You're darn right. Look at that transition. I love it.
BBB. There was another BBB. You remember what that stands for?
What?
BBB. Big Baller Brand.
LeVar Ball.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was a time. Man, that was
wild.
I forgot about that.
Totally messes up his kid's NBA career with those terrible shoes.
Yeah, the Big Baller Brand.
Yeah,
literally falling off his feet during the game.
Selling them for $500.
Remember that? That was wild. Hey, Father of the Year though.
Messing up your kid's knee.
Best self promoter.
Yeah, no, this is true.
Last 10 years.
This is true. Could have beat Jordan if he had a chance.
Could have.
The guy's crazy.
Average 1.5 a game in college or something, but he could have got Jordan.
I mean, to be fair, Jordan was mediocre in high school.
It's true. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Also this weekend, though, had some, we talked about the Musk stuff, but something else came out just yesterday.
Well, what's that?
Did you see the news about the Epstein files?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the FBI and the DOJ.
Suddenly there's not a list.
No, there's no list. There's
Crazy.
no video, even though there's a minute and 5 seconds of footage missing. And yeah, there's no list and there's no clientele. So, I mean, at this point, if Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison, what is she in prison for? Who did they traffic these people to? Did they traffic them to themselves? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows.
No, but didn't what happened? No, that was the JFK files. There was a big deal at the steps, and they're like, not enough was released, and they're like, we're still going through it. It was the JFK files.
Yeah. And allegedly they still are, but we haven't heard about that since that big dump happened. So
my.
Yeah.
That was kind of a surprise, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought if anything, they would have just kept sitting on it and not saying anything, not to come out and say that there's no list and he definitely did kill himself, and that, it all played out the way that everyone said it did.
Was Musk right?
Probably.
Uh-oh. We're getting into the weeds today.
Yeah, you betcha. Happy it's 1:15. We're going deep.
We're going deep.
Yeah,
all right.
It was a mess. I don't know.
Is there anything else?
Those are some of the big ones. I feel like, and obviously the Texas floods, unfortunately, over 100 people, I think, have already been confirmed dead. It's probably going to keep rising. Horrible situation. Flash flood happened in the middle of the night there. People are arguing back and forth whether it could have been better prevented or not. But I think regardless, with it being in the middle of the night the way it happened, it would have been something that was hard to foresee, especially happening on 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, I think the biggest deal is if truly there wasn't funding for the sirens and stuff like that, and that didn't get passed. That probably wasn't great if it was truly a threat that they struggled with consistently. But yeah, overall, just a tragic event.
Yeah, really bad situation.
I think people automatically try to go place blame somewhere in those situations, and maybe there is some blame to be placed. But I mean, a lot of times all that stuff is overreactive, and tragedy does happen.
Yeah. We don't like to see it happen in America, but unfortunately we are not immune to it either.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there was a big deal yesterday.
Yeah, there was. It was city council.
I
didn't make it. I couldn't get there live. I had to work late. I was like, I get off at 7 something. I'm not going to worry about going there. They'll be wrapping up by the time I get there.
Wrong.
I went till almost 10.
It was depressing.
It was, over 4 hours long. Just a marathon of a meeting.
I was watching on 1.5 speed, and it felt like I wasn't making progress.
As it's still going live when you're watching it, and the progress meter's just not changing at all.
Yeah, it was very hard, very hard.
They had a ton that they went through last night. There was an update to Souris Valley Animal Shelter to start off the bat, which is the new Minot Pound. Then there
Sounds like people need to keep track of their dogs.
Yes, don't lose your pets, folks. Obviously, you don't try to, but
we assume.
The assumption is, don't kick your pets out. How about that? If that's the other flip side of it.
It's crazy that it's treated as property, though, so they can't just go and rehome them or whatever they want to do.
That's the thing. You have to do the due diligence to try to find the owner first.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't remember if he said it was 3 or 7 day requirement that they have to try to find the owner before they can start the rehoming process. And
it's crazy.
I know they have, they're pretty full right now. And one thing that they did say that, it shouldn't be surprising, but the rehoming situations happen a lot more frequently with dogs than cats, but obviously there's a lot more feral cats around, so that's not a wholly shocking thing. After that, though, then they went into a big report on the likely new compensation plan structure. That
was a lot to take in.
There was
a lot of big words, not big words. There was a lot of industry words.
Yeah, this is true. A lot of the buzzwords for the industry of. Whatever that was, some kind of legal team that made it.
Consultants.
Yeah, consultant team. Yeah.
So, but the biggest takeaways from it is going and decreasing the steps so people can.
It gives more clarity and more incentive to make that next move, and also when you make that jump, it's more noticeable.
Right. Yep. And should make us more competitive. Not just across cities, because that's what's looked at is how competitive are we with other governments, but also across the industries throughout Minot. Obviously, you don't want to be overpaying, but you do want to be aggressive. Might be the wrong word, but you want to be at market, because otherwise you can't hire anybody. It's a two-sided ditches on both sides. If you're too competitive, then now you're competing against the city companies that make Minot great for employees, and you want to be careful there where you're not like overpaying.
You're not poaching talent directly from competitors, but you
need
want
good talent.
You want to be an option for that talent. Still, like you still want to be a possibility.
Right.
You just don't want everybody like a max exodus to everyone start charging away from where they're at.
Right. Yeah. Gotta go work for the city.
And one interesting thing with it too is that they're at least. I mean, it might change. Obviously, there's a lot to change. This is right now. It recommends keeping everything until the 2027 budget so they can work things in a little bit more securely. But looking into the future, at least as of right now, they would keep the public safety as a step-based thing. So it still pretty much has those guaranteed incremental raises. And well, most of the other public works and all the other departments would go to that other structure.
But we'll see if that holds.
Yeah, I know there was some pushback on it at the meeting last night. I'm sure it'll be looked at multiple times between now and a year from now.
A lot of information showed. A lot of it was boring, if you ask me.
You're not right. It was a fantastic presentation that had a ton of work put into it, and I struggled to get through it.
Yeah.
But that was the big one from the start of it. That was just these first two items were both from the city manager's report. Took up like the first hour of the meeting. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Going off of that, you had the consent items. They pulled a couple of them. I don't think anything was too huge that they pulled. Some
PERS,
like retirement.
Yeah. Well, just getting more information to make sure that people understood fully what was going on there.
Yeah.
I don't. To me, it wasn't anything that stood out.
It was probably some necessary things to highlight, but nothing that's too radically important.
I think it was the next topic that stood out. I think it was the next one.
It was probably not this one. The next one was Pathfinder Services, that was brushed right through. After that was a new Rose Hill Cemetery columbarium.
That one was interesting.
Expansion, yeah. It went from they were going to expand it one section and now they changed it to expanding it by 4 sections. And
it's really just like a indicative of the current world that we live in. Cremations are on the rise.
They are. You're not wrong. Very much so. It's becoming far more popular. And on top of that, by doing this as well, because of the way our city budget's going to be set up now coming into the future with a percentage cap, if they're able to do this now, they're going to be able to save money over the long haul with inflation costs when they have to do this in 5 years, and B, they're not going to have to deal with trying to figure out how to fit this into the budget at that point either.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is probably one of those things that's well worth in the short term, and it'll be a long-term benefit as well.
Yeah, for sure.
There was the one interesting thing that came up later in the meeting that was relevant to this is there was talk about, because at the end of the meeting there was talk on bidding on local projects and giving preference to local companies, and they brought this project up because it got bid out to a company in I believe it was Canada. It was a Canadian company.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, we're saving money with it, so great, and they're getting the best deal, but we don't necessarily know this company. Are they going to do what they say? Are we going to be able to guarantee it's going to work out this way? Yada, yada. When, we have right across from City Hall, there's a company that we know well that could get it done kind of thing. And I don't know. It's one of those. We'll get into this deeper when we get to that part of council, I think. But it just shows that there's so much that goes into bidding for contracts in the city.
There is, especially with the push to get more local involvement with that, which I think is good. I think it's good. I know that there's a lot of pushback on that, though.
Yeah, it feels like it has the potential to be a double-edged sword, because obviously on the surface you want to save money and the cheapest option should be the best, but then when you look at it a little bit deeper, well, wait a second, if all the time we're just exporting all of our industry to outside companies, like, we're not helping our local economy in that sense. And
do you remember the Keep It Local campaign that would
from a year ago? Yeah.
What's that?
From a year ago, right?
Well, I guess it probably comes up over and over.
That's true. Because it's a consistent thing.
But it feels like sometimes there's a lot of shops that are like I mean, you can even pick on Visit Minot. They go and they all about Minot when it comes to get some of their online presence and stuff like that revamped. They go out of town. And there's more than one company in town that could deliver the product that they have, but they go out of town, and I don't know. It just seems like that's a weird thing. When it's
a bit of a catch-22 situation there. Yeah. I don't want to, I think that's the best way, because I don't want to say hypocritical. I think catch-22 is
catch-22 is fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that more focus needs to be done on trying to get local projects.
Mm-hmm. And that local preference, which they had a big conversation on at the end of city council.
Right.
But after, we'll just go through the agenda. I think that's fair.
We're moving good.
Because after that one was a big flood control.
Yeah. situation. So, and it just seemed like run of the mill. Yeah, we made some changes.
Slight alteration in the...
Gonna save a couple $1 million. And then there was a business owner that got up.
Like, hold your horses.
Yeah. You may save a couple $1 million, but we've been at this location since 2014. I think he was renting at that point. We've been owners in 2018, and then they officially purchased it. Where
2022 or 21, something like that.
Yeah. So, and all along, this property was always going to be protected by the flood plan until today.
Yep, until this most recent project or proposal came to light.
It is actually like a month ago. And he's like, they were upset. They talked about how much money that they brought into the community, which is an interesting argument, but it's true. That sound $100+ million a year. Average wage of their employees was 78,000 or so. So they put a lot of money into it.
They operate like 300 semi trucks on a daily basis. Like it's a big business. I agree with your little point there. Like, I don't necessarily love the sentiment that throwing, hey, we're this, so we should get preference, but also, like, legitimately, because they are that, look at what they do for the community.
But his point was, you guys are going to go, and you have had us in this. We decided we'd do business here because this was going to be protected. So we were ready to go. We put money into the property, and now you're going to change the flood plan where it's going to cost more than $2 million if we change this flood plan. That was their point. It wasn't that they were trying to brag about how big of a business it was. It was like, if you're going to go, if Trinity wasn't a necessity and they were somehow in the flood zone, obviously they're not, but I'm just using an example. Like, okay, you're going to go and make it where Trinity's going to flood. Okay, well, that's something that maybe should be protected because there's a lot of actually impact that they have on the community. And so it was a good conversation. Obviously, we're talking about 100-year flood, and that's one of the difficult parts about this is you have these guys in there, and I honestly think that the engineers sometimes think this way, where it's like, okay, wait a minute, guys. We had a flood that we'll never have again, most likely. Like, we may have it. It's not going to be in any of our lifetimes.
The odds of it happening in any of our lifetimes are so minuscule. Not saying it's impossible by any stretch.
No, it's not impossible.
Next year, but like, the odds are.
It's a 100-year flood.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about these things that are on the edge, and most likely that business is going to have moved on. The oil industry is going to be a lot different, things like that. And I think sometimes the engineers are working on it come from that perspective a little bit. Like, all right, we hear you, but like, though I understand that a business owner would be kind of upset because it still feels real.
Yeah, and it's still affecting their day-to-day business if there was to be a buyout portion of it. I mean, it's it's not going to be a huge, like, obviously, if the flood happens, that's a whole different ball game. Right. But with the buyout part, there's even going to be, like, they would have to reroute things for a certain amount of time, and that's going to cost them a substantial amount of money in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just one of those things that really is interesting. It just leaves the question as to why it took till this point to find this adjustment in it.
Yeah, where does it come from?
Like, and we've had no issue. You want to see any money saved in this situation wherever possible, but like, why this one? Why now? Why here? I'm not saying that there's not good reason, but
I think it's just because, like, with the Compare Edition that was purchased last year, it was like, all right, why right now? We've known about all this for a long time.
Why is it just now coming to light?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird situation. It really feels like the longer we drag out flood control, the more it's going to cost. It just feels like this is something that we've got to try to expedite through. I don't know how. I don't know. I'm not the guy with that answer, but like, feels like if we can get this done closer to 10 years rather than 20 years, we're going to be doing a lot better.
Yeah.
But we're already 15 years in almost.
But instead, what we're going to do is go to a quick break. We'll be back in a minute 15.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
Enjoy Minot's finest authentic Mexican cuisine with a view at Mi Mexico. The rooftop patio is open and ready for you to enjoy a margarita or other cool refreshment along with genuine mouth-watering Mexican entrees. Mi Mexico, South Broadway.
Hi, welcome back.
Well, it's good to be back.
A long time no see.
Yeah.
City Council, fun times, man. Aren't you excited for the election? We forgot it's what, 4 weeks away from today.
4 weeks away.
We are at the 4-week point till the election. The countdown is really on. The fair is like a week away. At that point, it's crazy, dude. Time flies, and we're almost there finally.
Who's going to win? I was talking with somebody yesterday. They're like, ask me, who's going to win? I'm like, I have no idea.
I genuinely have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I mean this in the least braggart way possible. We're following this race about as closely as anyone, and I have no idea who's going to win this thing.
Yeah. Each candidate now has their own set of issues that they're dealing with.
Yep. Everybody's got their own perceptions they're trying to break past and trying to get through that barrier, and it's been...
It's going to be interesting for sure. I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to come out on top.
I'm just excited to see what happens with the city council position afterwards.
The feedback that I was getting, well, I agree with you, and we can talk about that in a minute. But the feedback that I was getting was that from a conversation that I was having was that the debates did have an impact on at least one candidate.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that.
The debate and the forum. Let's be clear.
Yeah, no, for sure. But just in general, I love to hear that those events, like obviously I love that we did one, but I love to hear that those events actually have an influence on people and an impact and make people think and possibly even change their mind in some respects.
Right.
For better or for worse. And I think that's what they're there for. And I'm glad to see that it actually does have an effect instead of just something I can enjoy to watch.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it'll be interesting. I'd love to hear who you think is going to win. Drop a opinion down in the comment section.
Come fair time, expect to see Kyler out and about doing some polling.
Yeah, we need to get some more updated polls on that.
So by probably that week in between the fair and the election, expect to see some polling numbers on who's leading with probably like a week to go.
Do you feel like it's a 2-man race?
I think it's a 4-man race.
You still feel like it's a 4-man race?
I feel more so now than I have ever.
That's so interesting, isn't it? See, the thing is, if Josiah Royce can get 750 to 1,000 people to vote for him, then he's got a chance.
Yeah, 100%. If anyone can break that 1,000 vote threshold, I think you're going to have an incredible chance to win. And again, unless we have like 6,000-7,000 people turn up to vote, which I don't see happening.
Although you can vote early.
Yes.
It's just not the typical way.
No.
It's not early voting.
But you can go down to the Ward County Administration Building and you can pick up a ballot and you can fill it out there. It's technically it's for mail-in, but you can fill it out and drop it off right there.
All at one time.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And again, state law did change, so if you do have go for the mail-in ballot option, you have to remember that it has to be postmarked and arrive at the Ward County building by election day.
Right. Basically, this isn't going to drag out for a week afterwards.
Yeah, and like I was reading an article over the weekend. I think it was in the Minot Daily. I don't remember for sure. But at last year's election, there was, I think they said in Ward County, 26 ballots that arrived after Election Day. So it's not like it's a groundbreaking number, but...
No, I'm pretty sure that's a huge number.
In a race like this, it could be.
Yeah. even Gietzen was really close though. Maybe it wasn't 20 votes.
It was like 100. Yeah, it was.
That's really close.
It is.
And for the the one I was thinking of actually was the property tax one.
Yeah, I remember them saying that there were a few ballots that were out that had
that
yet
one
to come
was 20 some votes.
Mm-hmm. It was 25 votes exactly difference.
Yeah,
and
right.
So I remember them, I think it was County Auditor Monica Hammond said that there were a couple ballots that were still out when they had counted everything that evening, but it wasn't enough to influence it one way or the other, so there must have been less than 20 at that point.
That's not her name.
Hammond is the last name. Marissa Hammond.
Marissa,
I said the wrong name.
Hammond.
I'm sorry, Marissa. I apologize. Yeah. That's my bad.
There you go.
But on top of, or aside from that, so we got to finish up talking about city council.
Well, I know, but there's one more thing I want to ask about it.
I'm sorry.
But I totally spaced it. So
I blew it. It's my fault. I got you off topic.
No, it's all right.
Look at me.
It's all right. You probably don't want to give a guess at who's going to win.
The election?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I'll predict it.
See, here's the deal. It's not hard for any candidate to get 1,000 votes out.
No, in theory, it shouldn't be. In theory, everyone should be able to have a base where you can get 1,000 people to guarantee to get out and vote.
This is a hot take. We used to do hot takes on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I think Josiah Royce has a very strong chance of being able to get 1,000 people out.
Yeah.
Because I, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Okay, some won't agree with this, but in my opinion, I feel like he may pull some people that don't normally vote.
Yeah, and I think a lot of his strong hardcore base are people that are going to vote no matter what. Like these are some of the more engaged voters that you can.
Oh, see, I disagree with that.
You think he's going to pull
he has part of that base,
yeah.
But I think he also has a portion of the of his base that is not. They do not consistently vote because they are so disenfranchised with the whole process.
That's a fair
that
point.
They feel like they don't. But now they're like, hey, we finally have someone that would have our voice, and we'll get out and support it.
No, I think that's a fair point. I could see it happening. And I think, too, because one thing that I think has in his favor is the other three are all actively on the council. And he's the one that's not. And you can, obviously, we have dove into the weeds prior on that of the semantics of it. But surface level, if that's what you're looking at, I mean, he's the only one that has that leg up.
Zach Rex says, bring back hot takes. We should.
Yeah, we might. Maybe next. Yeah,
let's do it. Let's pledge to do this. Next Tuesday, we'll have hot takes.
Sure. Yeah. I'll even give me a little bit. I'll try to passively figure out a hot take here when we're going through the rest of stuff.
Is it going to be something about the Lakers and signing someone?
No, not at this point. They got no money.
They were kind of shopping LeBron.
They still could be.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it's been like that for 15 years. What LeBron wants, LeBron gets. If he wants out of there, he'll probably get out of there.
Where'd he go? Nobody wants him. All right. We still have half of city council to go through.
So, yeah, a little quick break there before we dive back in. The next one that they came up was, so the state this year made a mandatory requirement for all public meetings to have a public comment section.
Yeah.
And so that allows the city to rework that ordinance, but it also has a couple of mandates in it. So everyone that speaks, because of now state law, everyone has to record their name and address, but that doesn't have to be like a publicly stated thing. They have to write it down.
Write it in.
Yeah.
Which they'd been doing for a bit, I thought, but
I think they did at the old city hall.
Okay.
They always used to do it. And now at the newer one, it had just been like a verbal thing. And so, now expect they're going to have a little card that you have to fill out with your name, address, I think maybe a topic, but regardless, you hand it in when you go up to speak, and they're going to still have the 5-minute cap on it. They're going to have, I think they're going to put a 30-minute total cap on it, but with a possibility that they can extend it if they want. Not a hard cap, it's a soft cap. And
why?
As part of the recommendation, they might have taken it because, so here's the other thing with this. They played wordsmith with this policy resolution for like 40 minutes last night. Yeah. So there's a ton of minutia that they went around back and forth with, taking out like a must and replacing it with may. So much of those little things. And they could have changed that one, and I'm forgetting. That's certainly a possibility. But if I remember right, that was kept in there, and they're just opening up to it may last 30 minutes, but you can put it past it if the council approves. So
that means only 6 people can talk.
Unless people don't use their whole time, which normally that's not an issue, but once in a while. It comes to be.
Yeah, but lately when people get up there, it seems like they're trying to use their full 5 minutes.
That's for sure. Yeah, typically people use the full time. I was saying normally you don't see 6 people get up to speak, but again,
some of these public appearances we have been.
Well, I know, and there was one where there was like 10, 11 people that spoke. So.
And I would almost prefer that you went down to 3 minutes.
I know that was discussed at one point too, because that was in the resolution for what it should be.
Yeah.
As the recommended draft that was sent by the League of Cities. But since we already had established 5 minutes, the city decided to just keep that.
And then it all depends on how much you're liked, depends on, that's the determining factor of whether you get more time or not. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's
very subjective.
The public appearances, like it's been a good thing, but I feel like we're at the edge. If we're not careful with it, we're really going to overdo it and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and that was one thing a couple councilmen were saying during this. Like, we have it right. Do we really need to change it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, there's a couple things we have to do now, that state requirement.
Yeah, we need to meet those.
Yeah.
But honestly, we're in election season. Is going to be interesting until that's done. Mm-hmm. It's probably something we're going to deal with every election season, but overall, it's fine. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any problems until that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man.
I mean, I think this law is something incredibly necessary especially for places that may be skirted by without having a public appearances. But for Minot specifically, I think our public appearance section was
money.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think it was as 99% as good as it could have gotten.
Yeah.
But expect some minor changes in that probably coming up later this year. I know this has to have a second reading before council, so expect that. And I know at the next council meeting, there's going to be a lot of budget stuff starting. So not sure if it'll be at the second one in July or if it'll be into August when we see it come back.
Gotcha. That's interesting. We'll be definitely keeping an eye on that one.
And one thing too, to finish off that flood one, speaking of that, it reminded me, they did table that issue to allow the engineering company to get with that employee or that business owner and try to work something out and get a different proposal to come back to council. We didn't mention that. There's
resolution or semi-resolution where they have until the next meeting to try to get a different plan put together. And I'm sure that they will work with him because they seemed very open to it.
They were saying, they said that they were willing to meet with him, and it's finding the time and getting it done.
Yep.
So expect 2 weeks from now, we should be seeing something on that.
We'll be talking about that again. We'll also be talking 2 weeks from now. No, we won't be. We'll be 2 weeks away from an election.
Yeah.
All right. Keep it going.
After that, they approved the deputy police chief position and the pay for soon-to-be deputy chief pluses. Then after that, there was an airport terminal study, which, having worked at the airport for 5 years, I can tell you that the traffic flow in and out of the airport is atrocious and horrendous, and people that aren't familiar with it are incredibly easily confused by how it works. That pretty much sums up like a half-hour report that was presented by the external company, who, again, props to them. They had to sit like 3.5 hours until they finally had the ability to.
They got paid to do it, so
don't feel too bad. It was a paid thing here, but like, again, I could have told you what they told you in that thing. I couldn't have told you how much it would cost to fix the stuff, though.
But probably could have gave a ballpark.
Yeah. Could have said within maybe a couple million. It's like 750,000. But again, this is all just complete surface level proposal stuff. None of this is going to be voted on yet. None of this is getting put into a budget to fix. This is just assessing the situation.
Yeah.
After that was one of the big ones. It was bidding on local projects and an amendment to create a policy to give local preference to companies bidding on city projects.
Right.
And this one had quite a bit of conversation going back and forth between everyone. It was definitely a little contentious at points, but also, when you're 4 hours into a meeting,
the true feelings begin to show.
It happens a little bit. Times. People get a little more testy at that point.
What do you feel about it?
Generally, I think it's good to try to give local preference to these things. I think you should want to incentivize the local community to be as involved as possible and also to want and have the ability to work on these projects. However, if the cost differential is egregiously so, I don't think it's justifiable enough to give it to them solely based on their localness. But also, I mean, I would much rather give it to someone based in Minot than someone based in Nebraska.
What's the percentage? Obviously, it depends on the type of project, but more of the transactional type stuff. So under $1 million. What's the percentage that is too much?
At that point,
So 10%.
Like between 10 and 20, you get to 20. I think that's too much.
That's
at
way
that
too
point.
much. I think 15.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
So like on $100,000, you're talking about 110. And like if you're talking about the city spending $100,000, they're buying 2 cars. They're buying.
Yeah.
Like that's they don't spend much. That's $100,000 bucks, right?
That's minimal stuff to the city. Yeah.
Right.
As in a big picture.
In the big pictures, and there's transactions that they're doing locally like that, but what I'm saying is like that's the type of transaction. So $10,000, somebody could probably get within that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest deal though is giving the local contractor the ability to match.
Yeah, and I know that was discussed as what could possibly end up going in that policy. I don't know if there's any laws about like undercutting anything with that. I have no idea. But generally, if that is the case, I think that's going to be added into that policy. They gave direction to staff to look at making a policy where it would be involving, obviously, local businesses, the ability to give them a second chance after the first bids come through, where they can either to some way match it or get closer to it. And I don't know how they determine it at that point, if it would be a case-by-case thing, because now generally it's, cheapest and best practice kind of thing.
The only thing we don't want to do is create a policy that is so friendly towards locals.
It completely drives out
the external. And so then we don't have people that are not here bidding.
And then it creates, you can argue it creates the same problem in a different way then.
Yeah.
Where now you have still 2-3 companies bidding on a project, but now they're all local companies. And I'm not saying this has or will happen, but they could at that point artificially drive up the price of it. Mm-hmm. And it's always something to think about at that case.
Right, for sure.
And who knows where they end up going with it, but they expect probably at the next couple meetings to see this come back to the table.
Nice.
I look forward to it.
You do?
I look forward to seeing what it looks like.
For sure. Actually, this one is pretty interesting.
Yeah, this one had, again, at the tail end of a 4.5-hour city council meeting, this one got a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
I would even say this is worth going back and watching as part of this one. I would say the flood control portion of it, and then this one here on the local projects are both well worth watching. And I could even argue I want to say the personal appearances, but man, there's a lot of wordsmith minutia going on in that one.
We totally missed this.
What did we miss?
The vice president was in North Dakota.
Yeah, we were getting there. We were going to get there.
Yeah, we were totally.
Yep.
As soon as somebody commented about it.
We totally were going to talk about that after we got through the city council meeting.
Which we're basically done with, right?
Yeah, that was it. After that, there was some talk about maybe changing the charitable gaming site policy. This new state law allows cities, municipalities to make it more restrictive than what the state allows. So if there's some stuff that they'd want to change, they have the ability to do so on that.
Beautiful.
Yes. Speaking of beautiful, big beautiful bills, roughly, J.D. Vance, the vice president, was in Medora on Friday.
That was a stretch of a transition, but we'll let it go.
I'm going to take it and run with it.
Okay.
We had the vice president here, first time an executive from the, someone from the executive branch has been to the state since I think 2017 when Trump visited Bismarck Mandan.
Yep.
So
why was he here?
I guess he went to go visit the construction of the Theodore Roosevelt Library, and he went to Medora.
Yeah, he was in South Dakota as well.
Yep, for a couple days prior.
Yeah, he was visited the faces.
Yep, Mount Rushmore, probably hanging out in the Black Hills down there, doing some stuff. And
we were down in the Black Hills during that time.
Did you see him?
No.
Did you see? How about? Did you see his presence?
No, because I didn't go to Mount Rushmore. But I did totally get my kid. I was like, hey, dude, I'll make a deal with you. If we see 4 faces on a rock, you got to give me $5.
And then what happened?
We saw the 4 faces on a rock.
Was he pretty disappointed?
He was like, oh, he didn't actually tell it directly to me. He told it to somebody in the back seat. Oh, I'll get you my $5.
Like, how did he know about that? How could he have known we'd see that?
And then he was pretty disappointed because he didn't understand how they got there. And so he's like, dude, this is terrible.
What is this?
How do these people get on rocks?
Like, why are they
why'd somebody, kill them or whatever? Yeah.
He didn't, the mind of a child.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened with Vance down in Medora. I know when he landed, him and Hoven had a big press conference, and I think was Burgum there too? I don't remember if Burgum was there.
When?
On Friday.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I saw Hoven was at the presser with Vance, so him and those two are probably hanging out.
Hoven was back in North Dakota.
Yeah, it's crazy. They were yesterday too. Gosh, so much is happening. Nice. Him and Fedoracek had some kind of press conference saying why the big beautiful bill is great for everyone.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Kramer was here too, although Kramer's here more often.
This is true.
Zach Reck. I think Trump also did a rally in Fargo near the 2020 cycle.
That sounds right. Actually, you might be right. I think you're right on that.
Yeah, it's difficult for Kyler to admit that he messed up. So
I messed up and forgot about that one.
Are they making a military base? Well, that'd be interesting.
Another one?
I haven't heard of that.
I haven't. Maybe they would. I would add another one. Throw one in by Dickinson, right?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I don't know what for, though. But do it for
submarines.
Space Force.
Space Force.
Yes. We're going to figure out how to launch rockets in the sub-zero temperatures.
Okay. Sounds good.
That could be a good thing. Maybe it's impossible, but that's something they should think about.
That's something they should think about. All right. I think we're getting to the point where we need a hot take. Because the show is cooling off.
Well, I don't have one for you.
You didn't get one?
I didn't. Best I can throw at you, my hot take. People mowing their grass on the side of the road, like, right on the ditch. Don't shoot your grass clumps onto the road. I think it's an animal.
It sounds like a Greg problem.
Yeah, it's really me thinking that grass on a road is a dead animal, so I have to swerve out of the way to miss it.
Dude shouldn't be driving. His eyesight is going. So he really just shouldn't be driving.
I can totally see.
All right, I'll give you a hot take.
Speaking of hard to see, how about that fog this morning? Holy jeez, I was coming up 27th over here. Man, I couldn't see at that turn.
I also had a brutal fog this morning. So I think I'm going with that. My hot take is that the mayoral race, the person that gets voted in will win by more than 200 votes.
Fair. Interesting. That's an interesting hot take. I like that one.
Yeah.
Do you have a prediction on who's going to win yet? How about this? The Thursday before the election.
We had to give predictions.
Are you going to be here that day?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the day we give our predictions.
This guy acting like I'm always gone. I'm gone 1 week this month. Okay. We can do that.
I think that'll be the move. We'll unveil the polling data that day.
So that's the 31st.
Yep. I think we'll drop polling data that day, and we'll give our predictions on who wins. I think that'll be the move.
Wondering why Vance came to North Dakota. The only thing I could think of making a military base. Yeah.
It's reasonable, maybe.
Yeah. It's not out at this point. Nothing is outside the realm of possibility.
Not even remotely. My thought on that, him and his Senate buddy John Hoven had some things to discuss, and so he decided to come to Medora and do it.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. I feel like that's a hot take right there in itself. On the 5th, though, August 5th, it's election day.
What? There's an election?
And there's going to be a special Minot Talk.
There is?
Yeah.
Are we going live?
Yeah, we are.
Are we going to go live when polls close?
Yeah.
Goodness, I'm excited.
We're going to do one of those things. It's going
to be a big send-off, big kickoff to the mayor race. We're going to have a party in here. We're going to show Jonathan getting ice dumped on his head, a pie smashed into my face.
We have to do this,
don't we? We forgot about it.
We'll have those clips ready.
Yeah,
we won't be doing that live.
No, we'll have those clips on for that special Minot Talk on the 5th,
yeah,
I think.
That'll be a good time.
That's a good time for it, I think.
Yeah, because once polls close, it still takes a couple hours.
Yeah, it's still going to take a minute for it to all happen, so we'll probably go live, a little before polls close? If they close at 7? I don't know.
Like 6:45 or something.
Something like that, right as they're closing, then go till we figure out the winner.
Are you going to do any day of polling?
Probably not exit polling. I don't think so.
No exit polling.
I don't think so. Not if I get the polling done in the time frame I expect to get it done in.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we'll look forward to that. Kyler doesn't have any good hot takes today. That's all right. I feel like you should have a Laker one.
A Laker one? Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like you should.
DeAndre Ayton will become an all-star.
Again? Was he ever an all-star?
DeAndre Ayton will be on the second team All-NBA. as a Laker.
You're kind of excited about this DeAndre Ayton.
It's not going to work out. It's going to be like Brook Lopez or Roy Hibbert from 10 years ago. But
okay. Roy Hibbert wasn't bad.
If there's one sport, well, he wasn't bad with the Pacers.
Dude, what about the Pacers just like allowing their team to fall apart?
That's a sad day. Everyone's gone. Halliburton's hurt for
they're
missing a whole year.
They're gonna go.
Miles Turner's gone. By the time he's back in a year and a half, it's gonna just be a mess.
They're gonna go from almost winning the championship to like winning 25 games.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough year for Indiana this year.
It's sad.
They have a great coach though. Rick Carlisle can get them to 35 wins. I bet.
You almost don't want that to happen.
I know exactly. That's what. Well, if you're the Mavericks, you can have a winning record and still win the first pick.
Was that rigged?
I don't think it's rigged. I just think it's a broken system that shouldn't allow teams with winning records to.
They did that, but they it's a broken system. They revised that system recently.
They've revised it every 2 years.
But they revised it so that way they could get rid of tankers.
In theory,
and it worked.
It did this one, but I think I don't know.
Lakers will have a losing record. Wolves in 4.
Hey.
Anthony Edwards, dude.
I won't argue that the Wolves, especially Anthony Edwards, are better than the Lakers right now.
Yeah, but that definitely wasn't a hot take that happened last year around this time.
Yeah,
it definitely wasn't.
It was right at the season start. I predicted Lakers Wolves would meet in the playoffs, and I was right.
Did the Lakers win?
No.
That's where you were wrong.
I was also said that it was going to be in the Western Conference Finals.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But that's not the point. I said they'd play in the playoffs, and they sure did.
You just got too specific.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Thanks, everyone, for watching and commenting. Love having conversation with you guys. I totally can read all the comments, I promise.
Just like he sees animals on the road that's actually grass.
Yes. All the time.
All the time.
All day,
great.
every day.
I wonder what he thinks about snow. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back on Thursday, 9 a.m.